sipping on wine, feeling so fine. Dinner's on the table, it's dine and wine. True crime stories, oh so prime. It's our favorite time, let's unwind. Wine, dine, true crime time. Mysteries unravel, we're feeling so alive.
Hello and welcome to Wine-Dine-True Crime Time, and I am your host, Keonda Jenkins. And this is about a show where we can sip, savor, and sink into some darkest stories that true crime has to offer. Tonight, I did not get a glass of wine. I've been trying to learn how to do this live stream and try to get everything together. So please don't be so harsh on me when you come for me in the comments. Give me some grace. This is my first episode. Um, so I did get what I had in the house, which was my husband's drink, white Hennessy and Coke. And I had some leftover clam chowder, which I made uh, into seafood chowder, which is my mom's recipe. So that's why it's a 10 out of 10 because it came from mom's. Um, what we do is just add up and doctor up clam chowder and add some sauteed shrimps and scallops and um, clams and crab meat, of course. And it's kind of a heavy comfort food, which I love to do. I like to eat, watch true crime, and drink a little. Yes, so let's cheers to that. But tonight's case isn't just about crime, it's about betrayal, tragedy, and the story of how one man, Charles Cullen, became one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. But before we dive into all that, a reminder we are here to honor the victims. Their name and their story matters more than the person who took their lives. We need to tell the story with empathy, and because that they were people with families that had a future and their lives was taken way too soon. Um, which you have to feel in your heart, and I truly understand uh, how these families feel personal on a personal level. Well, let's start with Charles Cullen. He was born in West Orange, New Jersey in 1960. He was the youngest of 8 kids. Yes, he had a huge family, and he was the baby of the family. However, he grew up with some hardship because his father died when he was an infant. So his mother had to raise 8 children on her own. She was deeply religious. She leaned and trusted on God to help raise her kids, and she worked tirelessly to keep them afloat. Which I truly understand because my granddad, I never got a chance to meet him, but my grandma had to raise 5 kids on her own when he was murdered. So, and I saw how strong of a woman she was. Even though she didn't raise me, I seen her how I'm growing up, her being such a very strong woman. Charles, on many accounts, was a lonely and withdrawn boy, which is hard to believe out of 8 kids, but I can understand how you could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. So I get that. He was bullied relentlessly in school. At the age of 17, his mom tragically died of a car accident. Charles seemed to unravel around that time, so he dropped out of school. He attempted suicide plenty of times. And eventually he enlisted into the Navy. Even though he enlisted into the Navy, it did not fix the issue. You're still the same person, just with a different surroundings. So the bullying continued. Um, his behaviors actually magnified. He started acting erotic, and he ended up with the nickname the Squid. I have no idea what that means. Maybe you guys can look it up or tell me when you read this story to give me some insight on what the squid is. Within a few years, he was discharged. I'm not sure if it was honorably or dishonorably. I have some clues that it was not an honorable discharge, but I could be wrong. Around that time, Charles found that what he could become or have is a long profession in nursing, a career built on care, compassion, and trust, which he did not have. Um, Cullen began to work as a nurse in the late 1980s, and almost immediately, people started dying. I mean, dropping like flies. Crazy, crazy. Um, the most chilling thing was the way he did it was so simple. He just injected them and overdosed them with insulin and digoxin, a drug that the symptoms may cause the heart to stop, completely stop. Some of the victims were gravely ill, although a lot of them were already in recovery, expected to go home, yet they died suddenly, unexpectedly. Families mourned, doctors questioned, but in those early years, a few really suspected the quiet, soft spoken nurse moving silently from room to room. That saying goes, be aware of the quiet ones because they are the most dangerous ones. I think it's true. I really do. And I'm one of those quiet ones. Sometimes. Um, it's important here to remember those victims, even though as I'm joking, um, it's very important to remember them and remember their names. Cullen himself would later claim that he killed as many as 40 people, but investigators believe that he killed nearly 400 people, which is a big jump from 40 to 400. I'm not sure where they get that number from, but they believe he killed more than 40 people. So you got to remember 400 mothers, 400 fathers, 400 sisters, brothers, children he had made killed. One victim was Father Florin Gall. He was a Catholic priest recovering from just a routine treatment. Um, his family expected him to return home. Instead, he died suddenly after Cullen's shift. Another woman named Helen Dean, she was 91 years old. Even though she lived a long life, she had time to go and had time to spend with her family. She was hospitalized after a surgery and was prepared to return home. Her son recalled walking into her room after a nurse had given her an injection. Hours later, she was gone. These people had futures. Like I said, they had years, months, even days to surround it by loved ones, to spend time with their loved ones, and Cullen stole that from them. He stole it quietly, invisibly, and under the disguise of care. Perhaps most disturbing part about this story isn't just what Colin did, but how he was able to keep doing it. Very disturbing. The hospitals, from hospital after hospital, they grew suspicions. Death rate spiked after his shift. Medications went missing while on shift. Patterns emerged, and yet each one was silent. Cullen moved on. He silently resigned and they did not say nothing. He went to a new hospital, a new set of patients, a new set of victims. It wasn't just Cullen who failed these patients, it was the entire system as a whole failed these people. By the 2000s, Cullens had worked for over a dozen hospitals across New Jersey and Pennsylvania. It was finally at Somerset Medical Center where suspicions grew impossible to ignore. A fellow nurse, Amy, I think her name is Lochran. Forgive me if I said it wrong. She noticed some inconsistencies in Cullen's report and she saw sudden patient deaths and she trusted her instincts. It's hard to turn in a colleague, especially if you were not sure if they did it and you know they're such a nice and quiet person and you don't want to. That's a big accusation to go on. But thank God she followed her instincts and started working with the police. She wore a wire and she confronted Cullen, recorded him admitting to doing this. And at I think but around December 2003, Cullen was arrested. He confessed to a dozen of murders, and in 2006, he was sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He will die in prison. And personally, I don't believe in the death penalty because a lot of innocent people died in the past. However, technology, DNA has grown and it's easy to prove. I believe that men or women that kill children, rape women, and murder, child abuse, if you know for a fact that they did it without a shadow of a doubt, they should die the way their victims died. And he should have got the injection. I truly believe that. In the years since Cullen's arrest, his case has forced hospitals to confront their families. It has raised urgent questions about accountability, transparency, and how to protect our patients. But for families to reform, any policy, any system change will never get their lost ones back. Cullen called himself an angel of mercy. Please. But there was no mercy with what he did. There was just betrayal. So tonight, we remember the lives that he took and the voice that he silenced and the future that he stolen. I chose this story because my baby sister recently graduated with her LPN. She was pregnant at the time, going to school at night, working and running the office, pediatric center during the day, and then coming home to a 8-year-old who had cerebral palsy. So she was a mother and a nurse 24/7. And she made that oath to love, to care, to cherish, to protect her patients. And that's how every nurse should be. I'm extremely, extremely proud of my sister and all her accomplishments. And she is now going to school to become an RN. And she has her my 2-month-old nephew. So this is why I chose this to be my first episode. And every episode, you may hear a little piece of me and why I do what I do. And as always, I enjoyed being with you guys. Until next time, keep your glass full and your hearts open. And always be safe, be vigilant, and always spread love, not hate. Good night.
Sipping on wine, feeling so fine. Dinner's on the table, it's dine and wine. True crime stories, oh so prime. It's our favorite time, let's unwind.